Hi, Shana. Welcome to the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast.
Hi, Julia. I'm so excited to be here.
Thanks. I'm so excited to have you. My first guest back. My first show was a solo show, and I'm so excited to have you back. We talked a little bit after you had listened to the first show, and we kind of align on lots of different things. And I think we'll touch a little bit on that today, which will be really helpful, I think, to our listeners. But what I would love for you to do to start is, can you tell us, I know you're an IHP, a little bit about what you're currently doing with your certification. And then we'll talk about kind of maybe how you moved through different seasons and how you got here, but what you're currently doing.
What I'm currently doing with my IHP certification is utilizing it still for my family and myself, and promoting wellness to everyone that I meet. I mean, the de-stress protocol, I don't know how many books I have given out of the rain barrel effect. It's like, if I could pass that out at Halloween, I would. Like, you get a book, you get a book. So I'm still doing all the wellness modalities myself, but currently I am helping health and wellness practitioners simplify their business. And so I have a passion for helping coaches who feel a little bit overwhelmed to continue, even no matter what season of life they're in. So that's currently what I'm doing.
That's great. Yeah. And I know that that kind of came from your own personal experience. So would you share a little bit with our listeners kind of what your journey was like as, you know, maybe even before IHP, what you were doing there? I know you're a mom, you're a homeschool mom, your life is busy beyond even just your, what you're choosing for a career, but a little bit about what you were doing before IHP and how it kind of all transpired to where you are now.
Yes, I'd love to. So I've always been passionate about business. My degree is entrepreneurial studies. And so I've run a couple businesses in the past, but they're all based on products. So like jewelry and apparel, I designed for the Country Music Awards. That was all kind of past me. And then I had kiddos. And as you know, you go through changes, your body changes. And I was just gradually feeling a little not like myself. And that kind of compounded for a couple of years. And then I had this epiphany when my daughter was 3 that I didn't want to be the mom that didn't show up in my best capacity, because I didn't want to teach her how to not love her body, how to not be thankful for what she had, and me hiding from the camera, me not feeling good, me not loving my body or showing that to my kids was pivotal for me. And so I started doing tons of research. I was obsessively listening to Dr. Cabral's podcast. And so I just decided, for myself and my family, I want to start this journey. So I took the IHP level 1 certification, and I loved it. And it was life-changing. I had my husband on the 7-day detox. We're all in. We're all in. Right.
No one's safe.
No one is safe. I mean, I'm gathering family and like, everyone, here's your smoothies. So I loved it. And then I was like, I really have so many people that I can help with this. This is obviously a perfect fit for me. I'm going to start a business doing this. And then I got a few other certifications. Like I took a blood chem analysis course from Emily Morrow. I did epigenetic hair scans. I did emotion code work. So I did a lot of different courses, and I tried a lot of different things. And I did one-on-one consults, containers, group coaching programs for women, habit coaching for women, just a lot of different things. And I will say I trialed and errored so many different paths, and we can certainly dive into that. But I learned along the way that you really have to lean into your season of life and what your current capacity is. And at no point in this journey did I ever think, maybe I should think about, where do I want to be in a year? Like, what is my ideal health coaching journey look like from this perspective, right? Like, how can I help someone in a year? Like, what is my capacity? And so I never looked at that. I just kind of followed a path that I thought I should do, and it ended up not working out for me. And so I had to pivot, I had to change, and that's kind of where I did.
Yeah. Yes. I think it's so important. And I think we, even as, practitioners in like, even maybe the IHP community, right? We can look at other practitioners, because you have this lens because of social media, to be like, well, she has 3 kids and she can do this. Like, I should be able to do this. Right. But everybody's day to day is so incredibly different. What does your spouse do for work? What's the temperament of your kids? Are you sending them to school full time? Do you have care after? What are your weekends like? Right? Because when I was kind of working at my most capacity or working the most, I felt like I needed a break from my kids on the weekend because I was so overstimulated from the week that like I couldn't even be present with my kids on the weekends. And I was like, this is crazy. I was like begging my husband to take the kids out, but also I wasn't spending a lot of time with them during the week. I was like running nonstop.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, well, something kind of has to give because like the weekends are supposed to be for me to enjoy being with the kids. And I was kind of like, no, I need to be all alone on the weekend to recharge.
Right. And a lot of times I think we even overlook how we enjoy things, how we gain energy, what fills us up. So a lot of times we're thinking like we need to do one-on-one Zoom coaching calls with clients. But if you're really drained energetically by showing up and supporting your clients, I mean, I would get on Zoom calls and my clients would, tell me their life's history, and sometimes they would cry and sometimes they wouldn't. And it was a safe space. But for me, holding that safe space for my clients depleted me energetically in other areas, right? So then I was like floored. I was leveled. And possibly that's not the best situation when I'm doing Zoom coaching calls sporadically through the day and then trying to homeschool and then be present in my marriage and have energy on the weekends, just like you're talking about. That version of coaching wasn't the best for me in that season of life. And it took me a long time to realize that. Certainly other people pointed it out to me, like, you're really, really, burning at both ends here. Like, what are we doing? So, ultimately, oddly enough, that's when my health, I had done so well going through the IHP coaching program. And then I graduated from that and I started helping clients. And then I started seeing that I was skimping on my wellness practices so that I could show up as the best mom, as the best spouse, and as the best health coach, but not necessarily for myself.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And I think too, back to your point of saying like knowing what you need. So many, I think empaths for sure go into this line of work, but I would say even maybe a lot of introverts who because like, I think that is part of kind of being empathic, and not that I don't know, I know a lot of extroverted health coaches too, but I gain energy from being alone. I gain energy from like silence and solitude, and you don't have a lot of silence and solitude when you're a mom. And so if you're kind of constantly on in your profession too, it can absolutely be draining, even though like you probably loved what you were doing. And I love what I'm doing. But I think the point of this episode is going to be that you can kind of find this balance, and depending on what season you're in, of how to kind of juggle all of it and feel like, because a lot of what I did on the last episode was I also didn't feel totally fulfilled, like not doing anything. I missed working. I missed the fulfillment that the interaction with my clients brought, and other coaches on the Equal Life team, and even this podcast, getting to talk to the most amazing guests. I missed that. So like the solution, and I thought at the time that the solution was to just like, okay, cut it out, and now I'll have like more wherewithal for the other option. But that wasn't necessarily the case, because I also lost a lot of the positive things that the workspace brought to my life. And so it's kind of being honest with yourself about what kind of a person you are, what you need, what allows you to show up for your clients and your family in the best way possible. And how do you kind of like mesh it and make it work, and give yourself the grace when it's not working to just be like, it's okay. I'm going to like pivot and try something new, or, downgrade here and try being just flexible and not thinking like there's only one way to like, quote unquote, make it.
100%. I feel like so many coaches get on this trajectory of I have to do it one way. And if it's not working that one way, then it's just not going to work for me in this season of life, or I can't do it in any capacity. And I can't stress enough how that's not true. I mean, you can impact people's lives just by sharing things that you're doing in your daily life, right? So you can, and that doesn't mean you have to show up on social media all day long and share every meal that you do, because also that's a little draining for me too, right? I like to schedule those things out. I don't like to be on all the time. But you can send a weekly newsletter. You can get on and do a webinar. You can do little things, or maybe you're an affiliate while your kids are at home for the summer, right? You focus on your affiliate sales and then you move back into a group coaching container. And so this kind of fluidity of moving your offerings to match your season of life and your capacity is so important. And I feel like so many coaches find that they're either doing it one way or they're not doing anything. And that breaks my heart, because health coaches are ultimately changing people's lives, right? You are out there doing something that is benefiting not only them, it's having a ripple effect on their entire family and their friend circles. And so it's so important for you to get that knowledge and information out. I do want to touch on what you said about the comparison, because if we look at something like Amazon, right? They didn't start as Amazon, right? They started in like a garage selling books. So oftentimes social media is a trigger for coaches, because they start out and they have no followers and they look at other people they're doing podcasts and they've written a book and they have a digital product and they run a course 3 times a year and they're just further along in their journey. But I know so many successful coaches that just do one thing. They just do that one thing. And they're okay with that one thing being what they have, because they're prioritizing what means the most to them in their life, right? So they have that one thing, works for their season of life. They're still doing everything they need to do in life and they're happy with that. So comparison is so challenging. And also, I think one of my biggest tips is to just unfollow people for a while. If you're finding that you're comparing yourself to other coaches, it doesn't mean you don't like them. You can still be friends with them. You can pause seeing their notifications or their posts for a while. But if something is triggering in you when you're going through social media or whatever, just pause that, put your blinders on and focus on you. Really get to the core of what you want and how you can help people.
Yes. Yeah. Because we can kind of get wrapped up in, if this is what success looks like, then I need to do what that person did to get there. And that's not necessarily true. And to your whole like Amazon point, and Dr. Cabral has even shared, I think like a visual of like an iceberg or basically nobody's seeing, the middle of the night hours or like the hard work that came before everything that you're seeing on the highlight reel in social media. And so we can kind of get in this habit of looking and thinking like, am I the only one that doesn't have it all together? No, you're just the only one that can't see, that sees beyond your highlight reel. That's the only difference. And the feedback that I got from the solo show was like so overwhelming and it was simply just because like, I think I showed some vulnerability. And I even actually got a message from a gentleman who was like, and I thought it was interesting that he said this, but he was like, I would have looked at you and thought you had it all together. Yeah. And I was like, oh, so interesting, because I don't think I act like I have it all together, but he was like, yeah, I would have thought like, your like practice is thriving. You're doing great with that. You have a perfect marriage. Like he was like, so thank you for sharing your vulnerability. I think it's, important. So I think we can all get stuck in these places, regardless of whether you're a male or female, where we kind of can beat ourselves up a little bit for either not being further along or not doing it the right way. And like you said, kind of quieting the noise and getting intentional about what is going to make you tick. Because the truth is when it's the right balance, it energizes you, right? Like my work now and my balance, what I'm doing truly brings me energy. And I have more joy and energy when I go to pick up my kids or when they come home. And that I know that it's the right balance versus me being irritable and tired or, having to act like, oh, I have to do all these things to my husband, right? Like there's a very different approach to the energy around it. And I think that if you can kind of quiet everything around you and get very in touch with that, it's super telling. Do you notice that with some of the coaches you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing, I think you're absolutely right. Two things. I think that you sharing your vulnerability was really refreshing, because I think that, to the point of seeing everyone else's highlight reel, right? You don't see anyone posting about struggles that they have, or they're just not gaining momentum or traction or anything in the space. And it can feel isolating. It can feel like a really isolating journey, especially because so many of us are coaching virtually, right? So you're sending out emails and you might get a couple responses, and that's really wonderful. You might post on social media and get, more of a viral response. You might get people commenting, but ultimately it's you, right? You're guiding that ship. And so it can feel a little isolating, and it can also make you just doubt yourself over and over again. So I think that your podcast of really just kind of sharing your journey was so refreshing. I mean, I was completely moved. I think I cried in our voice memos to each other. It's like, I just felt like it was so wonderful to connect with you and have you just open up like that. It was beautiful. So I think there's more of a need for that than anything, the community and having other people that you know and you respect and you look up to saying, this is hard, or I'm going through this and this is normal. What's not normal is overnight success. What's not normal is just knowing what to do initially. Those are not norms. Those might be things that are showcased, but that does not mean they're normal. So I think adding that kind of level of expectations is really helpful for coaches.
Yeah.
And then another thing that I see is that when coaches are coming out of their certification, they feel like, and so IHP is so wonderful that it gives you just a full body kind of root cause approach. But a lot of times they get overwhelmed because they feel like they have to know everything about everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have to just know all the things. And I know that I struggled with that a lot, because I felt like, well, they know more about hormones than I do, or she knows more about, exercise, nutrition, and she can like prep all her meals in 20 minutes on a Sunday. And I'm like, wait, it's 4:15. I've got nothing. I've got nothing again. And I have no patience, right? So there's a lot of that. And I think that if coaches can really just focus on what is it that brings them joy, what is it that their passion is, what is it that fills them up, that's kind of what we're talking about with really getting quiet. But that also helps them to say, I want to be known for this. Doesn't mean you don't teach other things. That just means that's your like special sauce, right? So for me, I love horses. So that's always kind of like, you're going to see pictures of miniature horses if you follow me on social, because this is where we live at the barn. But then you would also see other things. And so adding in things that are unique about you and focusing or niching, or however you want to put it, on one thing as you start out is so valuable and helpful to like cut through that overwhelm, cut through that comparison, and just really focus on what it is that you bring to the table and not trying to be everything to everyone initially.
Yes. Yes. And because it cuts down, at least for me, usually the biggest problem is like the mental overwhelm. Like I can juggle the physical things, right? I can like nurse the baby while I'm cooking dinner and like try to send an email over here, like, or, like run after it's always the mental overwhelm of like all the things in your head. And so I think like it's such a great suggestion. And we talked about it so often, in previous episodes, where you don't have to know everything. And I think you can, or specialize in everything. And I think a lot of coaches get caught up in like, but if I can help everyone, then I can have more clients. But maybe you might feel so overwhelmed that you never actually successfully launch your business. And so, no, you're not necessarily helping as many clients as you could if you niched down, simplified things, and didn't feel as overwhelmed, and you were able to kind of launch yourself a little bit further, right? There's always a trade-off for what, we're willing to kind of put on our plate. And so I think that mindset of like, if I know everything, I can help everyone. And if I can help everyone, I'm going to have a more successful business model. But that's not always the case, because more is not always more. And just because you have the quantity of clients, well, maybe the quality isn't there. And they're, not sending you specialty referrals because they think like, like the thing, right? It's super, I think it can be a mental block for a lot of newer coaches, but I think the more they hear it from seasoned individuals, the more it will kind of sink in.
I think there's two things that are important there. One is that I don't know if you know Donald Miller. He does Story Brand Framework. He's wonderful. He's a great books, great guy. He talks a lot about having your conversational one-liner. And so I talk to a lot of coaches about that because I think that helps them clarify things. And so to your point of not being everything to everyone, let's say this summer you go to your kiddo's friend's birthday party, right? And someone comes up to you and they're like, so what is it that you do? And that happens all the time, right? So what is it that you do? There's two ways to approach it. If you're the everything for everyone person, you can say like, I'm in functional wellness and I help get to the root cause and rebalance systems. And they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, right. If they're
did you get some
like,
pizza?
I'm sorry, what?
How do you know Timmy? Like, there's just no, I don't know. Versus if you say, I'm really into wellness, whatever, I help women heal adult acne naturally. Like, simple, right? They're going to be like, oh my gosh, I have had the worst like acne on my chin. Oh, is it hormonal? Like, or if they have a friend who has adult acne and they're talking about it, they're going to remember you versus the first one, right? So just getting clear on what you offer, what your passion is, what you can do, I think is so, so important. And then I'll give a second example. I use Primally Pure products quite often, and they have an everything spray. And I literally have not touched it. And I keep saying to myself, like, I need to go back on the website and see what the everything spray is for, because I have all their others. Like, I've got the lip balm and the tallow, the deodorant, but the everything spray, I'm like, it's for like, what is everything? Sprayed on my face? Is it an insect repellent? Like, I don't know what it is because it does everything. So like really just honing in on your special sauce will help in so many areas.
Yes. Oh, such a good, analogy. But like, again, it's like the mental noise of like, you're like, I don't have the capacity to figure out what possibly could be everything and like trying to figure out what I should spray this on and what I shouldn't. So like, forget it. I'm just not going to use it.
Yeah. It's just over there.
Yeah. And like, I feel like that can sometimes happen with coaches. Like I guess I'll just launch this and see if anybody comes to me. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, also the example, I think as coaches too, we know what like the lingo means.
Yes.
And we think that like integrative health practitioner, I mean, it sounds amazing. It does. Yeah. But a lot of people would be like, are you a nurse? Like, no, I'm not a nurse. I can't tell you how many people are like, so you're a nurse? I'm like, no, I'm not a nurse. I'm a health coach, but I work with, integrative functional medicine lab. And again, like you lose them at like integrative and functional. They're like, what? And I think, again, because like we're so immersed in the culture ourselves and we know so much that you can kind of forget that this is not common speak amongst a lot of people. And yes, you lose them. Everybody knows what acne is though. And everybody knows what women are, right? So it's very simple to understand terms. And you catch, what is it? Or flies with honey or what, but I feel like the more simplified and kind of like soft, it seems, and less complicated. And, people respond differently for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And you'll attract your ideal clients, right? So if you help everyone but you really like to work with menopausal women or postmenopausal women, but you're helping men who are struggling with weight gain, and then kids who have gut dysbiosis, and then all of these different things, then you're spreading yourself so thin. So like you're helping yourself, you're helping your clients, you're helping your mental load. It's a win-win.
Yes, absolutely. I would love to touch upon kind of what you think about email, things like automation and funnel, because I think that's one of your kind of specialties and also passions. And maybe because like, I'm thinking like, ooh, it does sound like an introvert's dream to like, you're just really doing it in your own time. Like you can do it out in the backyard in the sun and like, you're not having to, be front facing and like on social media So tell us a little bit about kind of email and why you think it's so wonderful.
So I didn't start an email list when I was health coaching. I mean, I heard people say like, you should start an email list. And I was like, oh, sure. And then I just didn't. Right. So I focused mostly on social media, focused on my clients, but I never started an email list. And what I mean by that is just pick any platform. The simplest platform for you is the best platform, right? And then sending out reoccurring, like a weekly newsletter. I know we think newsletters are just, my inbox is so full. But if someone has opted into your email list, they're interested in what you have to say. And that goes back to really kind of having your special sauce. So if they're really interested in curing their adult acne, and your email newsletter for a month is something like acne friendly summer salad I'm eating, my favorite new cleanser, what you can do, how water helps clear your skin, why you should, like, whatever it is, right? You're just sending information to them that is pertinent to them, right? And so you're staying top of mind. And it is so important to stay top of mind. When we look at just promoting on social media, that is borrowed real estate, right? The algorithm dictates how your information is pushed out. Mm-hmm. So some of your audience may see that, others may not. And, God forbid your account gets taken down, then you have to just start over again. My view is that social media should be a platform to move people into your email list. In fact, everything I think you do should be a platform to move people into your email list. And I suggest coaches keep it very simple, just a weekly newsletter. A lot of times you're like, I don't know what to send. And I just want it to be very conversational, a little life update, and then something that you think your ideal client would find valuable. It can be very, very simplified. And then as far as like funnels and automations, I tell you, I paid someone $500 to create a funnel for me when I was coaching, and they never did it. I never got my money back. And it was just because I was like, I don't know what a funnel is. Please do this for me, because it seems daunting, right? It just seems like overwhelming. But what it truly is, very simplified. I find if it's not simple, I just can't do it, right? Like everything has to be very simplified for me, or it's just not sustainable, and I will literally not do it. But if you can create some sort of freebie or value trade with your client. So again, going back to the acne example, if you say something like, these are my top 10 acne recommendations at Target, right? If that's your ideal client, or 5 foods that you can eat that will help clear your acne, something that is very applicable to them. Again, I would say optimize your social profile to be all about acne, right? So you're bringing those people in, but they sign up for that, and then they get an email saying, here's your freebie. Thank you for signing up. Then that funnel means it's just like you guide them for the next 3 to 5 emails on, thank you for signing up. Here's another awesome tip. Here's another awesome tip. Here's another awesome tip. And if you're so inclined, I have this offer that you can hop into. And if not, no problem. They just go into your weekly newsletter. It's almost like if you had a friend who stood at the front of a grocery store and they were like, this week, I want to eat healthy. And you grab their hand in the cart and you just walk them around and show them things. That's a funnel, right? They're saying, I want to do this. Can you help me? And you say, okay, let's shop the outside of the grocery store first. Let's not spend all our money on these things. Let's try this. You're not going to say like, cut everything out, do everything perfect, right? You have a little system that you use. That's what a funnel is. You're just taking them down a little path. And if your next step in your coaching container is correct for them, a good fit, perfect. If not, they go on to your weekly newsletter and you continue to nurture them. And that's where you grow relationships. That's how your email list grows. It is wonderful. And to your point of doing it and automating it, absolutely. I write my emails usually 2 to 3 weeks in advance. So they're all scheduled out, and I put my little life update in 2 days before I send them, and they are good to go. I have the funnel set up. So I literally can be at a horse show. Someone opts into a freebie. They go through the little journey of a nurture sequence, and then they go on to my newsletter, and that's it.
Yes. Yeah. And I think because we're all passionate, regardless of where we're at, right? Right now, you're not actively one-on-one coaching, but your passion is clearly still to help other people, other coaches, do it without getting burnt out and do it in a way that makes sense for them in the season that we're in. Our passion as a whole is still just to get the information that we believe is so important to into people's hands, right? Yeah. And however you kind of show up in that season, right, to do that it's kind of like do what you can. Right. Angie Green, I don't know if you follow her, but she always says, like, do what you can with the season you're in. And it really is about having the flexibility. And for me, it was the grace. It was the self-compassion. It was the ability to go like, this isn't hard because you're doing it wrong. Like, this is hard because it's hard. And so give yourself a little break, okay? Because you're doing a lot of things and you're not doing it wrong. You're just doing it in a way that is hard. And that's why it feels hard. And that's okay. I was not lost on me how lucky I was to be able to take a step back. And I know a lot of women maybe financially can't do that. And so they have to find a way to make it work. And I think kind of our conversation is it's possible to still be able to do the things, but do them in a way that it's not going to significantly drain you, but that you're able to still show up, able to still bring the information that we're also passionate about bringing to our clients, and do it in a way that it's good for you, your family, your clients, right? And it can look different for everybody, and it can be different months to months, right? Like my next 3 months is going to look different than September, just because your life is different.
Yeah. And if you're supporting busy moms, that's not when you're going to be getting the most one-on-one client consults, right? Summers are busy. So I talk to my clients a lot about that. If you're trying to promote something to busy moms in the summer, it probably needs to be audio-based or 4-minute video max, because there's no way they're going to read through courses. There's no way they're going to go through tons of ebooks. Like, they are at swim lessons, then they are trying to come up with the 600th snack of the day. Then they are just like, they're just not, there's no capacity.
Referee. I'm like, can you stop arguing? Let me teach you how to talk to each other. I'm like, did you forget everything we learned?
Right. Like 2 minutes ago, you were best friends, and now I don't know. Right. So they don't have the capacity either. So really looking at what your clients can do as well as you is very important. So their season is summer break, and that might be challenging for them. So if you're a coach, you have to just take that into account and think about, well, maybe you launch something in September. Maybe you launch something in August, right? Maybe you hold off, and in the summer, you give them a summer pack, like surviving summer nutrition guide, the healthiest snacks for your kids over the summer. 20 snacks under $5 that you can make a week ahead. Like, what you just have to think about those things and make it simple for yourself, and also, digestible for your clients, so that no one burns out. The goal is no overwhelm, no burnout, and just to kind of adapt and respond. And as you said, give yourself grace.
Yes. Yes. And I remember too, like when I think I mentioned this in the solo show, how I thought, like, I would read clients' labs and I would hear about their lifestyle. And I would think to myself, like, oh my God, this woman just needs to quit her job. And I'm like, everything would be fine. She's just like too burnt out.
Yeah.
And I feel like I almost went through what I went through to be able to show women that, like, no, you don't have to just like throw the tub out with the bathwater, or whatever the heck of that saying is, and like give it all up. Like, there's a happy medium to where you can do things in a way that meet your needs. You're able to still contribute. And also the relatability to our clients has to kind of be there so that we're setting realistic goals and expectations for them. And I think we can kind of get caught up in like, this is what you should be doing to reach your goals. But also, is it realistic? And the seasons for our clients change just as much as the seasons for our coaching change. Yeah. I find September to be it's, in my opinion, bigger than like January. I find that, and especially a lot of moms, they're like, okay, summer's over. I'm ready to like reset and think about myself. And it's almost a little bit more of a reset than January is sometimes.
Yeah, I found that to be true too. It's time for them to like focus on themselves and head into like what is going to be another busy season for them through the end of the year, and just kind of get back on track, because oftentimes summer just feels, off the rails, chaotic. So just really leaning into that for yourself, for your clients. And I just want to put this out there. If you are coaching and you feel like I need to take a break, that's totally fine. But you can also look at so many modalities. There is no one way to coach. The way that you coach is going to resonate with someone, right? So if you want to just do an audio course, there's value in that. I've taken audio courses. There was no video. There was nothing written. It was like just audio that you listen to every day. And I loved it because I could put in my headphones and then I could just go on a walk around the block and walk with the kiddos and listen to an audio course. And if that works for you because you have no time, then lean into that. But just don't compare what everyone else is putting out there to what you need to. Lean into your season. I promise it will make the biggest difference.
Yes. Yes. Because energetically too, it comes across when you put it out there as being super authentic and full of just like presence and your capacity versus it being forced. And like, this was so hard to like produce. And then like, it just has this heavier energy versus you just like launching something that's going to kind of fly. I think people resonate so differently with, that too, like kind of how it's been produced.
And also you're honoring what you're teaching. So that goes so far, right? If you're learning from someone who has no kids and they are just working nonstop 24/7, that's not going to resonate with you. If there's a coach putting out an audio course and they're not available for any responses on the weekends and you see them like prioritizing other areas, it makes your clients think like, oh yeah, I can do that too. I can create that space for myself. That's an okay thing to do. And I don't know why we as moms seem to think that that's not an okay thing to do, but it is. And creating those spaces, learning from someone, seeing those examples is really powerful.
Yes. Yes. I recently had a best friend who she was like, I don't understand like my skin, like, what are you, she was asking me like skin questions. And she's like, I follow these two girls on Instagram and like, I've tried everything that they're using on their skin and it's just not working. And she has two little kids. And I'm like, who are you following? And she told me who she was following. And I was like, do they have kids? Do they sleep through the night? They sleep through the night. They literally prioritize their every need or whatever needs they need to prioritize. Yep. They're not living the same life as you. So no, let's follow a mom who has limited financial resources because she's taking care of somebody else. And let's also be a little bit more realistic about, the expectations. Like
exactly.
You can't it's just, so it can be super, I think, disruptive and you can kind of feel like, oh, I'm not getting anywhere, but it has to be kind of something equal to what you're experiencing too. So
absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
If people are listening and they kind of want to connect with you further or find out more, where are all of the places that you show up, social media and whatnot?
So I'm on Instagram at BusyBee. It's BIZY, like business, BIZYBE.co. My website is busybee.co. And those are pretty much the two places. I would love to have them on my email list, of course. I send out tips every week to coaches, and I have a couple email products that I love and pour myself into. And then that's about it. I'm not there usually on the weekends. Go figure. Yeah. So just my website and Instagram are the best ways to follow me.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, we have to practice what we preach. And that's the other thing is when I kind of took a step back, I'm like, I am meeting with client after client and telling them to prioritize all of the things that I am not.
Right.
Right. So like if you were doing all the things and telling your clients to simplify it, right. You're kind of not, you have to kind of be holding the same boundaries that you're suggesting your clients hold to really be able to show them like what's possible and what's real. So yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast. This was such a great conversation. And I'm so glad we finally got to connect beyond social media and take a bit of time to talk and bring your wisdom to our listeners. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Of course.